Hi, I'm Shane from pdq.com. Let's add computers to PDQ Inventory. When you first install PDQ Inventory, we'll grab one computer by default, and that's the computer on which the console is installed. In this case, it's Guinness. Now, if you're running in free mode, you have a couple of options to add computers. We're showing this in enterprise mode, but I'll try and call these out. In the computer menu, to add computers, you have browse by name and Active Directory browse by name, and then by name. So by name is where you actually just type in the computers. So let's say we have a computer out there called Costanza. And this is really important. The scan user, this is the user account that you first, most likely that you first defined when you installed and configured PDQ Inventory. You can add additional accounts in the preferences panel, credentials, if you have different credentials for different machines. But we'll add Costanza. And if you see that green check mark, that just means, doesn't mean that it's online. It means that this computer name was able to be resolved by DNS. We'll also add a Dunmeyer. So once again, these are going to use the Quintana account in the Deadwood domain. We'll just say OK. What it does, it tries to add these. It attempts to contact and scan these computers. So if they're offline, it will time out. I'm going to just actually go to Preferences and good, I want that set to timeout. Timeout with 5 seconds is probably good too. Concurrent scans is fine. And let's go to Network. Auto heartbeat, perfect. And we will test multiple addresses. That's important if you have a lot of laptops or computers that move around from subnet to subnet. And then scanning, I'm going to actually do a ping before scanning. That means if it's offline, I'm not going to attempt to scan it. Well, that'll improve performance a little bit. So it's scanned Costanza and Dunmeyer. Another way to add computers, go to your computer, add. This time we're going to do Active Directory. Now this doesn't sync with Active Directory. This is kind of a one-time action each time you perform this. But you go to your, in this case, it says, oh, you're part of Deadwood. Let's show you the Deadwood Active Directory. You can change your domain there. And we'll just go down to Deadwood Computers and maybe just hit, we'll just do Deep Freeze. To add one computer, you can simply double click on it or highlight it, click that arrow, or the double arrow will move all the computers that are in this selected window over, and say OK. And you'll see that now the deep freeze computers have been added. Another way, and this requires Pro or Enterprise license, is to use Active Directory synchronization. And this is a great way. It's kind of a set it and forget it, so that as computers are added or removed from Active Directory, their corresponding records are added or removed from PDQ Inventory. In your preferences, go to the Active Directory page, and you have three what we call delete modes. There's import only. So if you use import only as your delete mode, any computer that you've synced from Active Directory, if it gets removed from AD, it will not be removed here. That's because we've set this to import only. You also have mixed sync. Mixed sync is important if you've got some computers that are in AD and others that are not, and you want to be able to grab inventory for all of them, or some that are in certain areas of AD that you normally don't want to sync with. But if you do all Active Directory, it's like kind of, that's your primer. If it's in AD, you want it in here, then you'll want to just do the full sync. And we'll do full sync for right now. If you do want to sync disabled computers, the computers that have their records disabled in AD, then check that. For the most part, you probably won't want to. So we've said full sync, but now what do we want to sync? You can say, you can include your entire domain if you want. Or maybe you're an administrator of just a small portion of AD and you don't want to grab computers that are outside of your department. This is where you select your include container. If you want the whole thing, just select that top level. Basically, you want to select the highest level to get all your computers, but don't go so high if it's going to give you so many computers. Let's say that I want everything in Deadwood. There's the include, but I don't want domain controllers. So I'm going to hit exclude, and there's our domain controllers, OU. And not only can you sync with your containers can be OUs or organizational units, they can also be security groups. So just keep that in mind. So here we're saying include everything in Deadwood unless it's in domain controllers. And if you click the auto sync enabled, the default is every hour it will sync. And you can always just force it by, when it's not doing a sync, by clicking the sync now button. But by hitting auto sync, it automatically started that. And you can see all these computers in Active Directory that are in that include container are being added, except for those that are in the exclude, which was the domain controllers. So now we've added, you can see we're at 160 plus computers and counting, and it's just starting to grab those and scan them. There's another way of doing your adding computers. We'll do that in a separate video. Just so you know, coming attraction is to add computers via network discovery. This is where you specify either subnets or IP ranges just to scan and import objects that it finds into PDQ Inventory. The network discovery is a pro mode or higher. So that's how you can grab your computers. You can see they're just moving along, and correspondingly, you're going to start seeing your collections start having numbers, the numbers of computers. So far we've had 2 computers that have Microsoft Office, Costanzo. Now there's even more, 7 as we're grabbing. And you can break that down even more. These are the computers that have Office 2013, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously one of the cool things about PDQ Inventory is that you can build your own collections just to tailor your environment. You can always see all the computers or all the objects by going to all computers. The green means that it's, last checked, it was online. We do have, in preferences under network, what we call the auto heartbeat. By default, this is set to 300 seconds. That means every 5 minutes, we ping all of the objects in PDQ Inventory to see if they're online, if they respond to a ping. That means you need to have pings enabled or ICMP echo request enabled on those computers to show that they're online. If you have a lot of computers, and by a lot I mean, once you start getting into the thousands, you start having 2,000, 3,000 computers, you're going to want to increase this interval. We see people move it to 600 seconds, 900 seconds. We've even seen people up to 1,800 seconds. It just depends on how many computers you have in your environment. You don't want 300. You don't want to take 300 seconds to ping only a quarter of your computers. You need, you need to be able to ping all of the computers in this allotted time. Otherwise, your performance will suffer. That's how you add computers. Really recommend that you utilize Active Directory synchronization because once again, depending on your delete mode, a computer here gets disabled in AD or removed from that sync container, it will get removed from PDQ Inventory. And so you're always looking at the latest data. Once again, I'm Shane from pdq.com. Thanks for checking us out. We'll talk to you later.